I'm Elisa Mortensen, and this is Undo Redo. Let's take a look at all the things that happen in life that we would like to undo and have a chance to redo. Hello, everyone. How are we doing lately? How are your emotions and your people and your circumstances, all your situations? And I do care. It's not like I'm just like, oh, hello, how is everyone? I really do care. I want the honest, raw answer. You know me by now, right? Last week was the first half of Dr. Becky's book called Good Inside, and this week we will continue that book. So this will be a part 2, and we'll finish the other half of the book because it took me 30 minutes to get through the first half and everything I had to say and everything that I thought was valuable. It's such a good book. Go read it, but if you don't have time, I'm glad we're doing this. So Dr. Becky says that over all things, as a parent, we just want them to listen to us. Like, as a parent, could they just listen? But what that really means is we want them to comply. Notice if they're not complying. It's upsetting. That's just a sign that your relationship needs some more love and attention. How could they possibly feel unseen by you and pushed aside by you because you have so many agendas for them? How do you help them, really help them? Because we're correcting them so often. So first, we acknowledge how often we as parents are asking them to stop doing something that they're really enjoying. And we're telling them to do something else, but they're not going to like doing it all. Picture you're just going about your lunch. She gives this story in the book. She says, you and your girlfriends are just having lunch, and another friend walks up and says, hey, you guys, time to call off lunch. We're going to go to my house and clean the toilets. And you guys are like, no, thanks. And you just continue on with your lunch. Okay, that doesn't sound very fun. But have you ever been frustrated with them ignoring you? So much frustration that you become a monster to get them to do it out of fear. Their very survival depends on whether they listen to you or not. Doesn't seem right, does it? So put yourself in their shoes, she says, and see how hard it would be for a young, underdeveloped brain with really big emotions to be ordered to do things they don't even care about or want anything to do with or want to do or are interested in or value or anything, especially by someone you love. Someone you love comes up to you and is just really, really rude and demanding and doesn't really care about you or what you're doing or what you're going through. So as a parent behaving in a controlling and punishing way, we've shifted this learning moment of things that need to be done. We've shifted the attention from learning the benefit of doing things that we don't really want to do at the time to make me stop being angry and make me stop yelling by just going and doing it now. So you've missed an opportunity to help teach them and for them to learn something very valuable. Because now we've made it about we're angry and yelling and we're not going to stop till you go do it. We missed the opportunity. She wants you to see that in the book. And the tantrums are, you got the little tube and you've got chemicals inside of it already. And all the ingredients are there already built up in the jar from all the previous routines and what we expect and what we've kind of conditioned the kids for. And then we add the catalyst and boom. So the buildup is already inside them and that's their foundation. And the catalyst is us coming in with our demands. And we wonder why they're behaving so irrationally. We just asked them to do a simple thing. But that's what happens when we do it without connection first. We want to shut down their tantrum to shut off our own distress. We feel distressed, and so we need their tantrum to stop. We are saying that they're irrational. We're blaming them for being the cause of all this distress. When we could take a look at our part in it, and that's part of what I do as a coach, I'm like, oh, okay, how can you approach things in a way that really works for the situation instead of against it? How can you prove to them through your actions, behavior, and your speaking that you are on their side? She says you can be upset as you want and also have calm, kind words. The key to managing meltdowns is to state their distress as a wish. Like she suggests, oh, but I want to go do this thing instead. And you can say, oh, you wish you could go do that instead. You wish you could keep playing, huh? But I want to keep playing. Oh, you wish you could keep playing. You wish you could eat only dessert for dinner. You wish I wasn't so busy and had more time, huh? You always ignore me. You never do it. Oh, you wish I wasn't so busy. So she says just restate it, and she gives you a bunch of examples in a wish form because it helps them feel seen. You're not in charge of how they choose to feel and what they choose. They get to choose what's in their body, right? They choose their own emotions that they're going to feel in their body. You just support their learning and listen to it. So you just listen to them be upset and you state it as a wish. I thought that was brilliant. In the meantime, what we do, what we're in charge of, we keep our own body calm. We create a safe space. We're okay. We're safe. We don't step in and manage their reactions. Nothing's wrong when they don't want to do something. They just don't want to do it. Let them feel it. They don't know how to manage themselves yet. We're still learning how to manage ourselves. She says with aggressive tantrums, they feel very, very scared. So the more aggressive the tantrum, the more scared they feel inside. And the more, which shows us really, and I'll just put a side note, when we're very, very, very upset, we feel the most scared inside too. So we need to be there for ourselves. She says that we manage ourselves. How can we make it a safe place for us in ourselves? Even when the kids feel surprised. Oh, nope. The kids feel surprised with their own intense sensations. Dr. Becky says they feel scared. They're surprised by how big their emotions are, and it's so confusing to feel so awful. And they can't get away from it because it's inside of them, and they need your help, but you're adding to it, so you just help them. Don't assert your authority and be surprised when you're met with pushback. Think of them as just completely terrified. They're not doing anything to you or against you on purpose. You're providing a safe container for them to just have their big feelings. She says to picture a safe container for them to be as they please. Create a space for them. They can express themselves with you near and you loving them and you showing them that you're regulated and that it's possible to be calm in a crazy situation. But your child just needs you to help contain themselves. They don't understand why they're so out of control, why they can't listen to you, why you're getting more mad that they can't, and it's scary to not be in control. Our firm boundaries are the highest form of love and protection. They get to just throw a fit. But we still need to leave the park today, right now. You get to throw a fit, but you're still not going out tonight with your friends to a place that I don't know. So our firm boundary is the highest form of love and protection we can provide for them. When they're past the point of logic, right? You know your kid really well, you're talking to them. Just remind yourself that your number one job is their safety. They are in terror. Your number one job is just to make sure they're safe while they're in terror. Remind them that you love them and that you're there for them and let them have their fit. You do some deep breathing. Tell yourself nothing is wrong with you, nothing is wrong with them. It's just new for you to support them in their fit instead of correcting them and making them stop. Your own deep breathing and calm presence is all they need for as long as it takes. You can do this, you guys. Think to yourself, they are allowed to feel the way they choose because this allows them to feel that message through you. Their feelings can come out, but not destroy things around them. It's okay, honey, I got you. We're just going to go in the bedroom. Your feelings can come out, but we're not going to destroy things around us. You can hear all the mean words they say, and you are still okay. They can slam doors and say they hate you, and it gives you insight to what they're fighting with. Their own voices inside of them, not you. Remember, any form of exploration is boundary pushing. Any form of expression is acting out. That's their job. They're doing their job. Your job is to view it as a window to teach them. You're there to be their mind and their stillness. What tools do they still need? This gives you insight to what do they still need to manage themselves. You take deep breaths in. I know it's hard. I am here. That's all you say. Speak to their dysregulation. I love you. You're a good kid having a hard time. She says that a lot throughout the book. Nothing's wrong with me. Nothing's wrong with them. This is all okay. This is all normal. I know it's hard, honey. I'm here. I love you. You're a good kid having a hard time, and I'm right here. And then you take more breaths and remind yourself, I can do this. I can be here. I can be present, and I can breathe. That's all you need to do. I thought it was so simple. She recommended another book, too, in her book. It's called Siblings Without Rivalry. And she says that fairness is not a concept that she even agrees with. It drives into their minds that comparison is the priority, and it sets them up for constantly comparing themselves to those people around them and those kids around them, instead of determining only what they need and just what they need. Like, they got new shoes. Why can't I get new shoes? Well, honey, your shoes aren't worn out yet. That's not fair. We just take care of our needs as we see them, and we all have different needs. She says to not give into the fairness rule. And this keeps in mind that we're all different, and it shows them that that's a good thing, that we're all different and we all need different things. One way to teach this is to voice your needs often and how often you meet them. And it models how they can listen to their body and take care of what they hear and see from themselves inside. Like, oh, I need this right now. You know what? I'm feeling a little bit flustered, so I'm going to just go take a minute. Mommy will be back in 3 or 4 minutes. I'm just going to go to the back room for a minute, or I'm going to go in the kitchen and start working on, and get some of the ingredients out for dinner. I just need a few minutes and then I'll come right back. She has really great advice on rudeness and defiance too in this book. It feels disrespected to us, and so we react instantly with punishments and we assert ourselves. But take it as a sign what could be off between you two, that they would want to disregard what you're asking or saying in the first place. Like, why do they not want to listen to you? Has your child's big feelings come out in rudeness, and then you've met them over and over with being super reactive, isolating them, pushing them away, not hearing their side? Because that could end in them being alone in their room with their big feelings and not knowing what to do with it. Punishing leads them to more big feelings on top of what they were already having, which gets them more dysregulated, and their actions and behavior become worse from there, more unkind. And it just continues in a cycle like that. And the only way to stop this cycle is to separate in your mind them from their behavior. They are not what they're doing. We have to, as parents, unlearn the outdated thinking that sounds like if you don't punish their bad behavior right now, they're going to get away with doing it. You better jump on that. We unlearn those outdated thoughts. But their big reactions do need to be noticed, right? And remember how it's a window to what's going on inside? No biting back or scolding is needed. Instead, say, honey, I hear your tone, and what you're feeling right now is more important to me than the rude thing you just said. Let's find out what the real issue is here. Maybe we could talk a little deeper. Meeting their rudeness with a kindness and an empathy will show them that you're wanting to know them and see them for real, that you're not taking them their bait. Don't take their bait. Watch out. This is when they bait you with their big, huge overreactions. Honey, I hear your tone. What you're feeling right now is more important to me than what rude things you just said. Everyone's going to be less likely to remain in the cycle of immediate responses and overreacting when our responses are instead filled with love and compassion. And she talks about how even the whining can go away. And she's certain of it. She's helped so many people do it. When you embrace what you're making it mean, like if you're thinking it means they don't appreciate what I do, they're ungrateful, spoiled. I give them healthy food, and they don't appreciate me. Or any other negative thing. That story you have around their whining, that story in your mind matters. And that's what I coach on. What kind of a relationship you have is the story you have around the person. If you have a bunch of negative, discrediting thoughts about that person, then it just becomes your trigger. She talks about that. The story you have around their whining matters. And she says it becomes your trigger. I call it an auto response too. Every time you're faced with that whining, you're going to just go to that same overreactive response. So how can you manage yourself and their whining at the same time when it happens? Just, you could make it light and silly. Adding playfulness and connection always redirects their whine. And her example was, oh no, you caught the whinies. Let's get rid of it quick. Hurry, take your whinies and go throw it out the front door. Go throw it out the back door. And then when they get back, be like, phew, you caught the whinies. Let's say that again differently. Do you think someone else will catch it out there now that it's on the loose? She says it's also pretty effective for us to model it to them. And she gave this idea. You begin whining yourself some other time, not mockingly right when they're doing it, but you begin whining yourself when you don't want to do something, like, I don't want to do the dishes. And then take a deep breath and suddenly change to a more decided and appropriate response. I kind of want to get it done and just get it out of the way really quickly, so I'm just going to go do that without making a big deal. And model that over and over throughout your life situations while they're in the room. Another way, she says, is to see the need behind the whine. Say something to them like, something doesn't feel good to you, huh? It's okay to let it out, but do you want to tell me what it is? And then you address it. The next one is lying. This was hitting home for, every parent, I think, because lying has its reasons. We default as parents to thinking our kids are going to be horrible people, sociopaths, or they're so disrespectful, and that's unacceptable. And it pits us against them. Do you see how we're the ones fighting? We're against them with all those thoughts and that story around it. So don't focus on making sure they don't get away with the lying. It's not about those things at all. It's a sign that they don't feel safe or accepted or seen as good inside at the moment. It's always about that. In case you haven't noticed, this whole book is about what's going on inside of them. Has nothing to do with what you're making it mean. It's always about that. The kids' brains are wired for staying close to you and not being pushed away. And if you've been in a pattern of pushing them away when they have poor behavior, they're going to lie to you to stay close. They're not meant to deal with hard times alone. They're wired to avoid abandonment in their brains. But they're also wired to be independent of you eventually. So we've got all these things going on. And to have some part of their life not under your control is the goal as well. They don't need to be controlled by you their entire life. They're trying to sometimes hold on to their idea of their self, their creation of their own life, their individuality with lying. So there's so many reasons, there's so many things that go on. But in response, we tighten down on our control, which is the opposite of what they need when they lie. From there, they'll lie more, get better at doing it anyways, and hide it. They'll get better even hiding it. Our goal with lying is to help them feel safe and okay to be themselves, and that we love them no matter what. We need them to become more open and share when they feel guilt, share when they feel shame, and learn how the process of telling the truth can feel good and bring resolve and result in more closeness. I love conflict resolve. I teach a conflict resolve and using it to your benefit and becoming closer on the other side of it all the time to people. It increases truth. It makes it a safe place for everybody. And now everybody can say everything they want and nobody's going to make a big deal about it. Oh, that's the way you feel? How come, honey? What are you really feeling? One strategy is reframing the lie to a wish, and I love these wish statements. It softens the lie and it peers into the falsehoods. We can keep seeing our kids as a good kid when they have lied. You can vocalize the situation in a non-threatening way, like, maybe you wish you didn't. I didn't lie. Oh, honey, maybe you wish you didn't lie. I didn't steal that. I didn't, well, oh, honey, maybe you wish you didn't. Did you get your chores done? Did you get your homework done? Yes, I did. I saw your homework and I saw your chores and it's not done. Maybe you wish you did. Instead of, don't you lie to me. Because if emotions get big at the moment, you just wait for a calm moment later and revisit it. You know when they're checked out. You know when they're defensive and no understanding is going to happen. So resist the temptation to attack at that moment. They have good reasons for why they're lying. Find out what that is in a playful, relatable conversation that's really not threatening. With older kids, you can ask, what do you need from me in order for you to be honest? How can I change so you feel like you can express things to me? And talk to them when it's calm, reminding them that you love them and no matter what, we can figure this out together. She talks about addressing fears and anxiety only by dealing with our own fears and anxiety first. Did you hear that? That's kind of a call out. If we have kids with a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety, we can only deal with it by dealing with our own first. We create a mantra to use in the moment for ourselves, and we create a mantra for them, or they create one. We talk them through it, but only what feels believable, what feels empowering, what feels true. You can repeat it in your mind over and over when emotions get big. Like, I can do this. I'm a good parent having a hard time. My child is good. They're just having a hard time. Slowly, when we learn more about the fear and anxiety and how it plays out to us, we can acknowledge that not everyone feels scared about the same things. And we can show that to our kids, like, oh, isn't that interesting? This person's really scared of going up in front of the class and talking. Or, that doesn't scare me at all. That's interesting that scares you. It's okay to be nervous. And then you co-regulate with them. Do you know what makes me really feel that way and nervous? It's not what you're experiencing, but I experienced that feeling in this situation. And then just reminding them that you feel afraid, everybody feels afraid, and you're going to be there for them. A lot of kids hesitate and are shy. I remember one of my kids in sports was a hesitator, and that shyness drove me crazy. Grab the ball, and they would hesitate. Like, they didn't really want to get in it. They wanted to, and then they'd kind of beat themselves up for not. But it feels worse for the parent when there's hesitation and shyness from the child than it does for the child. The kids who are cautious, actually, that's a good thing, right? We want to have our teenagers not just like run out into some awkward, horrible situation. When we have our own reactions to their shyness and hesitation, they have a whole nother layer from us that's upset and pushy on top of their already not feeling so great in the situation because they're hesitating and shy and they know they are. And we say stuff like, he is so shy, I wish he was more confident. Or he is so easily talked into things without even thinking, I wish he was more confident. Well, what's confidence then? Confidence is being able to be in your own mind and not in charge of anyone else's. Knowing when your own cues tell you you're comfortable or distressed, that's confidence. So tell them instead, you know when you're ready. You'll know when you're ready to talk. You'll know when you're ready to go out on the field and play. When you're ready to try something new, or when you're ready to move on, let me know. Just give them that confidence from you, like, you'll know when you're ready. But I'm really scared of this. I know, honey, it's scary, and you'll know when you're ready. And if you're not ready right now, that's fine. I'm right here. Believe in them and remind them often, only you know your body, and only you know when it's time. When it feels right and comfortable and brave, you'll know. Give them the opportunity to get to know themselves. This is the highest form of parenting. And we can't do it, like Dr. Becky says, until we address ours. So if we want the kids to develop tolerance with frustrations, we model being tolerant with our frustrations. The less we're obsessed with success, the more we have a growth mindset. A lot of us are obsessed with success, but we got to be successful in this, and they got to do this and do this successful thing. But between desiring and knowing is learning, and learning's hard. And kids are always learning, and so are we, but they're learning more than we are at the growth rate of their brain. So how can we sit and slow down in our frustrations and become more tolerant of not knowing all the things right away? In between the learning and the knowing is a huge space. So take a deep breath when anyone gets annoyed and voices get loud. They can learn to regulate fastest with a co-regulator. You help feed their ability to be calm and stay in the situation, because that is the most powerful place to be. We model flexibility in these situations. We become dynamic in our own power. Dr. Becky advises us that we try what she calls emotional vaccination. This happens when you address the problem and you know it's cyclical and you know it's going to come back around, but you do it in a normal, calm time and just give it a dry run. Hey, I notice we always argue when the topic of homework comes up. And you kind of go through what happens, what's frustrating, and you collaborate together about it in a calm moment. And it does prepare it to happen again at some point. but it comes up with new ways to handle it together and to remind each other, to listen to what everybody thinks about it and what goes through their minds when it's happening, and to get the big picture of the ideal way to handle the situation as a group or all together or between the two of you, however many people are involved. One where we all feel good about it and it's created in a safe space that reminds everyone that there's a new way. Sometimes you can have a word, a safe word, and you can repeat those predictable, frustrating times in a calm, conscious mind. Her ways of handling food are pretty amazing because we get to make our own food decisions and they get to as well. We create when, where, and what when it comes to food, and we let them be upset when they don't get to be in charge. They get to feel their feelings, and you get to be the container. You decide what to make for dinner, when we're going to eat, and where. And then you allow their agency in that container. They need to decide what they put into their bodies, and they need to be in touch with themselves. And you won't make it mean that you're not a good mom, or they aren't listening, or they don't appreciate all the work that you did to prepare the food. But just tell them, I will make sure there's at least one thing on the plate that I know you're going to like. You don't count bites. You don't make them sit there till it's gone. They need to cue into their minds and bodies and learn to hear themselves without us getting in the way. So I thought that was a really good take on the food situation and the snacks. Like, we decide when snacks are and what they are. And then anything outside of that, if they want to go hungry, that's fine. And we could move dinner up even if we knew that they didn't have a snack because they didn't like what we offered. But the way we as parents engage in that body sovereignty, it teaches them. It doesn't teach them by our words, but by what we allow. We should encourage them to listen to their feelings about how they eat, how they interact with others, what they feel, whether they feel comfortable or not, and don't demand that they're any different. They need to know the own signals from their own body better than pleasing your demands. Their minds will build their circuitry to trusting in themselves and not always needing you there to make those decisions for them. And just tell them, you know your body best. If you're not sure, then I won't offer it again. Even if you really want them to do something, you know your body best. And if it's uncomfortable to you or you don't like it, I won't offer it again. And then things like the circuitry for doubt would be like, why can't you see this is okay? You're just being too stubborn. It's not going to kill you. It's a few bites. You're going to be fine. Telling them to ignore what's going on inside themselves. They will learn self-trust if you provide the experience for them to learn self-trust. So talk them through it. Believe them when they say they're scared. Don't tell them all the reasons they shouldn't be scared. It's very invalidating and gaslighting. Instead, say, there's something that doesn't feel good to you right now. Do you want to share it with me? Or only you know what it's like to be in your body. It's so great how well you know yourself. Good job. And encourage them to think, connect with their inner voice. I do this thing in my coaching where we separate the mind, body, and spirit because the mind-body connection is often not working and the spirit connects it. So it's really important that your mind is bringing up the feelings in your body. And how cool to connect their mind to engage with their body. It tolerates others' distress. It tolerates when others behave poorly because we know that they are in charge of their bodies and they're doing what they know they should at the moment too. So it just keeps others from not being upset. It avoids people pleasing altogether to teach them to cue into themselves. Her thoughts about tears in this book were to look into how we feel about them, how we feel about crying. How do we feel about them? She says that tears are universal and our reactions to them are individual. And there are thoughts that have been passed down, learned, and it could mean that there is an assignment of fault or the need to blame, or that it's a sign of weakness or that someone's being overly sensitive. So it's a very judgmental space. When people have tears, they've maybe learned it's a way that another person manipulates them. And we all need to switch to wonder and observance in this space because it's not the outward expression alone of what's happening. So we talk about these things at some other time when we're not crying. Teach them when people cry and why, and that it's okay to do so, and that it's their choice. Because you want to put the language around it that tears are connected with something important, not something weak or manipulative or being overly sensitive or whatever, because we all have stories around that. But if we connect tears with the word important, our body knows sometimes before our mind does. So we just start to cry and we don't even know why we're crying. Our body just feels something, and then our tears well up, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense. But are we making crying good or bad? It's neither. Just tell them it's important. It's trying to show us something. It processes through our body in that way. And it's meant to release chemicals in our body that help us feel better on the other side of crying. Tell the kids that boys and girls cry, men and women, grandmas, grandpas, everyone cries. Tears aren't the enemy here. Sadness isn't even the enemy. Tears are okay. Sadness is fine. They're important to our family, and we pay attention to important things here in our home. And I think that was the coolest way to frame tears. The enemy is being alone in tears. Don't send someone away because they're crying. Your presence gives comfort, and that's part of your job as a parent. Not to make the tears stop, but to be present with them through their feeling, building that confidence. Not building feeling good, building confidence, being proud about ourselves. So they need to know that they're a good person inside above all, and that they can be proud of who they are in any situation, having any emotion. That's how resilience is built. Trying to convince them to stay happy and grateful tells them not to trust what they're feeling inside, and that other people may know better than them, or that their instincts aren't to be trusted. Imagine in their minds, I was told to never react like this, but that's what I feel. So I have to shut down this part of myself. It must be wrong. What if their brains were saying that? Instead, connect to them over these big emotions that they're already having. They're already sad. They're already angry. They're already jealous. It's okay. You can be yourself. And don't worry about the words you're going to say or the lectures you're going to do. Just be there. Don't try to convince them otherwise. The next one, she says that praise is the enemy to confidence. And I just thought, oh, praise your good when they have, praise your kid when they have good behavior. That rings true in my head. I'm like, oh, that's so believable. That's right. When they have good behavior, just praise and praise them. But doing things for others to notice doesn't build us inside. We'll keep needing it on the outside. I'm like, oh my gosh, it was such an aha moment for me. We praise the process. We don't praise the product. Notice what's inside and learn more about how they navigate through tough things. You're feeling sad, huh? As opposed to, why can't you be more happy? Building the things inside have a higher value than anything outside of them. Inside, trying a new math problem feels unsure and confused, but being okay with the process gets you to the end result. Outside, I don't know how I need someone's help. I guess I'll cheat to get the result. Skips all the discomfort and the learning because it means you're becoming dysregulated or already are dysregulated, and you're skipping the steps to get to the answer. Help them appreciate the process. Kids who are perfectionists are prone to this rigidity and think that they're either on the top or the bottom. And they shut down on anything in between because they can't access the good feelings about themselves. They can't tolerate living in the gray. They think, I mispronounced a word, it means I'm dumb. They just go straight there. Well, don't try to change them. Just help them gain control over their thought, the thought traffic in their tower. They're okay if they become okay when they make mistakes. No, don't change them. Just help them gain control over their thought traffic tower. We all have a traffic tower in our brains, is how she describes it. And they can be okay when they make mistakes. Ask them what the feeling is underneath that failure, but refrain from offering any silver linings. Logic doesn't build the regulation, and regulating tough feelings is the core struggle for kids struggling with perfectionism. So be playful, make it light when they feel heavy, and turn those concepts on their head. Bring in lots of laughter. You'll have to read the book. She states it so well. She talks about separation anxiety too, and how it's all about them just needing your presence. The point about your light shining on them when you're together, it should be so strong that when you're not together, they still feel you there. They still feel your light even when you're not there. They need skills from you to hold on to you and feel secure. It's an attachment that they need. They need you calming them and being there for them because they don't know how to be there for themselves yet. So you prompt them to act out the separation. You can lead them through the story of what happens. You could cover every detail so the child can see it more clearly in their own way. You could have them talk through it instead of you. It's important to hear their perspective, not yours. There's bedtime anxieties too, not just like drop-off anxieties, but the bedtime anxieties, they can come on. But we can also perpetuate their fear by becoming a monster when that time comes. Now there's increased anxieties, and it entrenches that grumpy morning drop-off or that grumpy evening pattern right before bed. And all of the family now is a little gun-shy and scared of it. And we're the ones that lead our families. It's our right to make decisions about the direction, but then we can change the direction at any time. So if we've implemented some poor practices, I think that's an undo redo right there. We may not know how to make it through to the other side of these changes we want, but we feel it's important, right? And we all happen to have like the skills and the tools readily available wherever we want in order to do this. So we don't even have to start from ground zero, right? We can read Dr. Becky's book and go get, she offers help. You can come to me and talk to me. I'm doing it too. I'm finding things all the time that I'm like, wow, I've set a pattern of, one or two people in the family are more important than the rest, or this agenda is, far greater importance than the value of my children's day or what they're thinking today. And maybe I'm a little bit further along than you because I can see some things, but I can see what you're up against, and I know what I'm up against when it comes available to my mind. I don't always see it, but join me in this. There's still nothing wrong. We're all entitled to our feelings, and it can be a big mess until we know what feels a little better. We can check into our bodies, and when we need support to get there, I'm here for you, and you can go find someone else if it's not me, but just know you're the one in charge. You get to make the decisions. And I hope you share this with whoever came to your mind. I always say this, but while you're listening, if someone came up to your mind, I know this was a long one, and it's 2 now, but help heaven reach those who it wants to reach. That's how it works. They show up in our mind, and we go with it, and that's how we get there. That's how they get there too. Thanks for hanging in there for the part 1 and part 2 of Dr. Becky's Good Inside book review. Message me if you would like to address any certain topics that come up for you within this book, and I'll talk to you in our class session next week. Shout out to my class. They're doing lovely. Or on next week's episode. Love you all. Bye.